Hi guys, welcome back to Rebellious Menstruation. This is another cloth pad tag. This will be number 3. I was tagged in another one. So when I'm tagged in one, if the questions are the same or ones that I've answered either before in a cloth pad tag or in one of my Q&As, I basically won't address it again. However, I'll address the new ones. Question number 1 is, if you had a choice, would you like not to have a period? Just taking it away with no valid alternative, no, basically. Menstruation is linked to health, fertility, hormones, the way that your body functions. No, if it was replaced with something else that would do all of those things, then sure, but what's the alternative, or what's, just not giving an alternative is not good enough, I think. So on your kind of perfect period, what method would you choose that would be ideal? Kind of what method of protection would I choose so it would never leak? I like, at the end of the day, my cup doesn't leak, and I do not leak over my cloth pads. So disposables were horrible and sweaty and smelly, and so I had switched to tampon use, but switching to cloth pad use has been a phenomenal difference, and I don't go over or bleed over the either cloth pads like this or my menstrual, because I actually kind of use, if I'm heavy, I'll use heavy pads, or longer pads. If I'm bleeding a certain way, I'll kind of pick the pad that matches that, so that also helps. And also I will pick a menstrual cup that kind of belongs that day. If I'm heavy and bleeding a lot, I'll use my Yuki cup. If I'm light, I'll use my Ruby cup. So question number 3 is, would you get rid of any secondary symptoms? Breast tenderness mostly, since I have relatively large breasts, so they do get really, really tender, and it sometimes can be painful to, take stairs with them, particularly on my period. And also because I lose like 2/3 of my menstrual blood in one day, I can get exceptionally fatigued. So fatigue and breast tenderness probably are the two. Would you change your work or schedule around your period? Definitely. I would work from home, but I would want to work from home in general, not just because of my period. I'm office-based staff, and I do not need to be at an office. I need an internet connection and a phone, and a computer, and I could work quite easily from home. I think they just like being sadists and make us go into an office, but to be honest, we don't need to be in there. We could log in and out of our phones and computers quite easily from a home-based environment. Question number 5 is, what would your attitude be if your period was perfect? Because it's like your period changes over your lifetime. So from when you get it to when it becomes more regular, to when you get to your 20s, to when you get to your 30s, to when you get to your 40s. So you don't have a normal period for your whole life. You have a kind of normal period for right then, because your body changes, your health changes, your lifestyle changes, your diet changes, all of that type of stuff influence the type of period that you have. And your period influences the type of, kind of reverse influences that as well. You can't separate your body and your period, or your period and your body. And also you make riskier decisions when you're younger. That would influence the way, you may leave your tampon in longer, or you may do something that would change. So I don't think that there is anything because I don't think there is an imperfect period, to be honest, in the sense of there's not really perfection, there's not really imperfection. There is the period that you have, and that's what you need to deal with in that time frame. And it's not going to kind of change. It's not going to, it's not going to change the fact that perfection doesn't exist. So no is the answer. My attitude wouldn't be any different towards my period, because I manage my period with cloth pads and menstrual cups, and I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with what I'm doing and how I'm managing it. Question 6, if you had the option, would you spread out your period over, 2 weeks or 10 days, or would you have it all in one day? No, I would not like it all in one day. I already get a substantial amount of my period volume in one day, and all it does is make me really, 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 really tired. And since changing to reusables, I have managed my period over the 5 days perfectly fine. So I don't see how it would work to get it all in one day. So I think I would probably just be asleep the entire time. And question 7, last question, do you find period jokes funny? I think probably the most common one a lot of people have heard is, how can you trust something that bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die? I used to find them funny. I did. And because some of them are. But I find now that it simply annoys me, because they usually come from a place of ignorance rather than of humour. So kind of like the joke, the joke that I said before of, how can you trust me who bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die? If you pour a cup of, we have a uterus, our uterus stores our blood. Essentially, the period is just cleaning that uterus out. Like, we have a storage chamber for that our period. So for me, I'm like, are you genuinely making a joke about periods, or do you actually not understand how it works? So if it's if it's actually a funny joke, sure. But if it correlates, I don't know. I think if you are making a joke because it's funny, sure. But if you're making a joke because you don't biologically understand how periods work, it is not funny. I find that terrifying, that our education system does not deal with female anatomy or biology, and these jokes, particularly from men, are not about periods being funny, but they're about their lack of understanding of periods. So I think that's probably would be my issue with it, and that's become my issue with it. Whereas I think years and years ago, I probably just would have laughed at it. But I don't find ignorance or lack of education funny. So that's probably my thing. Humour's funny, yes. Lack of education is not funny. Anyway, that concludes this cloth pad tag. Hope you liked it. If you have any more, you want to tag me any more, or you have any other questions, email me, tweet me, Instagram me, email me below. All those details are down below. Thanks. Bye.